Hi everyone, today I have with me Chris Rosso, Global Manager of Learning Platforms at Nike U. Chris will be delivering a keynote at our upcoming event, NextGen LMS, which is happening June 18th through the 20th in Austin. Chris, welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. So I want to start off just kind of with the event name. What does NextGen LMS mean to you?
For me, it's almost a misnomer, to be quite honest, because I'll address this in my keynote, but I guess I have a big question around what is the next gen of the LMS, and is there a future for the LMS? I think there's a lot of great learning technologies out there, and we'll delve into that more. But I almost want to rephrase it into what's the next generation of learning technology. What does it mean for us to manage learning in the future, as opposed to constraining ourselves to the concept of the learning management system.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit more about that at Nike? I wonder, so it sounds like your approach to the LMS is changing, or thinking about things maybe a bit more broadly as learning technology. So can you talk about how that practically implicates a company like Nike?
Yeah, and right now we still have an LMS, right? And I think most corporations do. Either something hand-rolled or something standards compliant, something that's launching SCORM or AICC content one way or another. We're doing some sort of course registration, right? For us, we're starting to see the LMS as a legacy product. It's housing, the well-established SCORM and AICC content that we've got. Right now, it's doing course registrations. We don't necessarily feel confined to that. And we're looking at a lot of stuff in the future. Like right now, we're doing a pilot on, TinCan/Experience API. Coming up with a realization that a lot of our groups, especially within Nike, Nike it's a lifestyle, it's a design company, right? And as a result, we find that a lot of these groups really want their own kind of custom look and feel, and maybe they want to release an app, maybe they want to have a microsite off of Nike.com or our internal intranet. And what we're finding is there may come a time in the fairly close future where we can say, you know what, you can have whatever experience you want. Here's how you connect to us, and we continue to be the system of record. We continue to manage learning for the global functions, but maybe we're no longer constrained to a particular look and feel and approach. It's about curating and being the central repository for reporting, and less about saying, okay, you go to this website, and on this website you launch this piece of content. It also allows us to scale a lot better, right? We've got certain initiatives that are going out to 200 people, and we've got certain initiatives that are going out to 100,000 people. Mm-hmm. One size fits all doesn't always work for that,
right?
And when we do resource planning, when we do our enterprise resource planning, I look at not really the least common denominator, but I don't want to build a system that has availability for 50,000 people consistently. That doesn't make a good financial sense for us, right? Nor do I necessarily want to go through all the work of, let's say, we're the way we're hosted, like most folks, we're on load balanced, virtual servers, right? Does it make sense to spin up 100 VMs for one project, right? I don't think it does. But what if we could work with that business unit and say, okay, you've got an initiative that's going out to 100,000 people for 6 weeks. Let's work with a rack space, or work with a, somebody who can do that really well, really quickly. Maybe it's an internal resource, but I think realistically, with something that's public facing, it makes more sense to leave that hosting with someone who does it really well, and say, go ahead and spin up your 100 servers, and here's the address and credentials to get into our LRS. We'll capture all that for you, and we'll report against it. We'll do those pretty graphs that the stakeholders like to see. But it doesn't necessarily make sense for me to bolster our corporate learning system to do that. And there's also security concerns, right? Let's say they do want to open something to the public. Maybe we're training, a new set of stores or, franchises or whatever it might be out in the field. Now I don't have to worry about necessarily the access control for that, right? I don't have to spin up 1,000 or 2,000 or 50,000 accounts for folks.
Right.
I'm able to say, let's be the repository rather than the front end.
Very cool, very cool. So I wonder, it sounds like there's this kind of paradigmatic shift happening, both from your perspective as a learning professional and your team, and then how people are consuming learning in general at Nike and at any corporation. So I'm wondering for you, how does that change how you think about your role in helping facilitate learning and development, and also how you help your team in terms of how they see their role as maybe not just this administrator of an LMS anymore?
It's definitely, even in the 3 years I've been in this role, the role has certainly matured or even morphed into something different, right? When I got hired, the idea was, hey, we're centralizing learning at Nike for the first time, at least this way, right? At least the first time with this number of employees and this set of resources. And we really want to make a concerted effort to build the best experience, for our internal customer. So I basically got hired to build the LMS, right? Got hired to build we never really called it an LMS. We always said it was a development platform because it was always going to do more than an LMS. It was about contextualization. It was about really using our merchandising principle, Nike's internal merchandising principles, to create custom assortments of learning and content for our employees. So there was always this sense of curation. It wasn't just, let's throw a bunch of courses on an LMS, right? And I think, if anything, our role has gone more from almost an IT kind of role, where we were doing system admin and designing ERP kind of resources, to moving into more of a curation role, right? And being a great consultant against these businesses. What they want, especially fast-moving businesses like Nike. They really want that custom thing that is going to blow the minds of the people they're trying to get to.
Right.
So I think it's really changing. It's changing even more. We're moving more from administration and content building to consulting, curation, and really editing. Because one of the things that we do want to make sure of is that there's still a Nike look and feel to what we do. I mean, something I often say around the office is, even if you took the swoosh off of everything, you'd still know it was Nike, right? There's a presence we have in the market. That it's not about the swoosh. It's about the whole ethos of our ecosystem, right? So whether you're doing business with us on Twitter or Nike.com or in a factory store or an inline store, you know it's Nike, right? And I think this is true for a lot of iconic brands. Coca-Cola, for instance, you don't need the little whatever they call that thing to know you're drinking a Coke, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's their color red, or it's the polar bears, right?
Right.
Apple goes without saying. You could take the Apple off the device, but you'd still know it was an iPhone, right?
Right.
So we want to maintain that look and feel of what is learning at Nike or in Nike. So kind of maintain the brand integrity, maintain the style, but also give people a whole lot of freedom around it. And I think we're going to see more and more of that as our roles mature here.